132 Waikonda Road. I see that my Inspector Kelly Davis's car is here. Let's go see what he's up to.
But like they always say, safety first. And we're leaving nothing to chance. All right, I think now we're ready. So why don't we go on in and have a look at what's going on. Okay, now we're in the house. I'm actually going to take that down so you can hear me. I want to candidly discuss what the home inspection is all about. First and foremost, it is the part of the deal where we're only going to talk about negative qualities within the house. Let me be clear. This house could have the best finishes, it could have 1,000 great things, but we're going to bring up 10 awful things about this property. So typically what happens is home buyers go crazy, they get dramatic, like, oh my God, I made a big mistake. Home sellers get incredibly offended because they think, I've done so many improvements to this house, yet they're sitting here only criticizing the property. So let's just bring some sense to this topic. The home inspection is highly stressful for the buyer and the seller for very different reasons, but just both parties know this is the part of the deal where we have to be only negative about the house. You should not put too much weight into that, nor should you minimize it, but just come at it with some sense, knowing that money and repairs can really take care of the vast majority of things we're going to uncover today. We're going to hear from my Inspector Kelly Davis here shortly, where he'll outline some of the things that you need to look out for, but the majority of items that we uncover on these home inspections are relatively trivial. Now, there's not a perfect house out there, whether it's new construction or 150-year-old farmhouse. So just kind of know that too. Builders cut corners, mistakes happen. There are parts of the home that cost can be a real factor, but overall, this is just a point of reference and information that will be useful throughout the duration of your period of home ownership. So for as stressful as a home inspection can be, it can be as equally informative. In fact, that's the purpose that I believe a lot of my buyer clients tend to miss when they are at the home inspection. Use this as an opportunity to gather a ton of information about the property that will become incredibly useful over the term of your ownership. It's like getting a 3D scan of your body. Yeah, these are issues that you wouldn't have otherwise known are going on until you take this 3D scan, and now you can make modifications to your behavior to accommodate the things that you uncover. This is really no different, so use it as a time to learn, not just worry about all the things that may be wrong. It's really a learning experience if treated as such. And finally, there are a number of parts of the house that don't amount to much money. Really, there are only a couple things that you really want to look out for. We're going to look at the exterior, the interior, focus on things like roofs, windows. How's it going up there?
It's going pretty good. Roof looks like a newer roof. It's an architectural asphalt shingle. It's in good condition, good installation. The through roof vents were properly flashed. My only recommendation for this particular house is that the concrete crown on top of the chimney be touched up to prevent further deterioration of the brickwork.
Good stuff, thank you.
Components that are in your utility room, such as HVAC systems, hot water heaters. We want to look for water coming in. We want to look at the electrical to make sure that those things are wired properly. Other issues such as little wood rot or tip brackets on stoves. Outlets, GFCI outlets not being installed properly. These are things that we come across all the time and not to freak out about. We're here to uncover the big deal things first and foremost.
So I absolutely love this backyard. This is a great yard for a starter home, but you notice there's a slope going towards the hill, and in this area, we get a lot of precipitation throughout the course of the year. So something always to look out for, water ends up in basements without proper grading. And by the looks of it, they did a good job with the grading, but we're going to have Kelly take a hard look at the lower level just to make sure nothing's getting inside the house.
All right, so we've got Kelly Davis here. What do you think? How do you think it's going so far today?
It's going good. There's always room for improvement. We've identified some minor electrical issues, some appliances that are end of life, but overall, it's in really good shape.
That's good to hear. This is what, like a 1953 Rick Rambler?
Yeah, this is built like a tank. We don't build these types of homes like this anymore.
I love to hear it. Well, if you had, one piece of advice that you would give a potential seller or buyer, but let's just focus on the buyer. If you had one piece of advice you'd give a buyer, what would it be?
It would be to hire a home inspector to go through to check the functionality of all the components of the home, the appliances, to look at the structure, the windows, the doors, the floors, the walls, the electrical, the plumbing. Just go through it. It's kind of like taking a car to the mechanic before you buy it to make sure it's in good working order.
I mean, that makes perfect sense, and I can personally attest to this. There are so many times that Kelly comes along and finds issues that we would have never found otherwise, so that's really critical. Now, here's kind of something that I get over and over again. What are the common, like if you had to boil it down, what's the most common thing you uncover as you're doing these home inspections? Like what's the recurring thing you're constantly finding?
Deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is we live in a house for so long and things change so slowly that we don't actually perceive the change in condition. For example, caulk lines on the outside of the house around windows, doors, and trim. Exterior woodwork tends to deteriorate if we don't keep it painted and caulked.
Right, that's a big one. You can see with your own eyes, but people just don't see it when they live there, right?
Absolutely. And then also, especially with new construction, the backfilled areas around the foundation tend to settle back towards the house, allowing the surface water where it rains to sit next to the foundation and pool. And that causes damp foundation and water issues inside the home. So I'd say the biggest issue that we see on a regular basis is mismanagement of surface water, including downspout discharge locations that it should be 4 to 6 feet away from the house.
So what you're saying is your downspouts need to extend 4 to 6 feet past the house.
Yes, and the grading, which is the way the ground slopes away from the house, should slope away from the house at least 6 inches in the first 6 to 10 feet.
Now, real quick, because you know we have a hill in the backyard here, like what's something that someone can do if they have a hill coming toward the house?
Oh, we can divert the water. We can do a buried French drainage system that basically is a pipe that collects water and takes it around the house. Or we can do a swale, which is a shallow ditch, and just redirect that groundwater.
It makes perfect sense. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I know you got to keep getting back to the inspection, but just want to get an expert on here and really give you some straight talk about home inspections. Thanks.
Absolutely, thank you.
That does it for today's inspection at 4722 Wyconda Road. The house inspected really well. I think the buyers are going to be happy. Thanks again to Kelly Davis for answering some of our questions. And if you have any questions for me about the home buying process, send me a direct message. I'm always happy to help. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.